Hello students, today I have started a series of video discussion in regards to the social subjects. I think that it will be benefiting you as you listen to my discussions. It is because of the lockdown conditions that the Indian government has decided for the next another 14 days. So it will be better for you to continue with the studies. Now, to convey the studies, so I am starting with the videos. Today I will start a little part of the chapter 3 of class 10 from the history part 1. And the name of the lesson is Anti-British Rising and Peasants Revolt in Assam. In the previous two chapters that we have studied in regards to the struggle of Indians and also the freedom fighting of Mahatma Gandhi. In the first chapter we learned about the Swadeshi movement, and in the second chapter we learned about the freedom struggle under Gandhi's leaderships. And finally, in 1947, that is 15th of August, through the Independence Acts, we got freedom from the British. During these times, as we studied the first two chapters in regards to India, there was any hardly focused on the Assam's events. So as a separate event, it is not regarded as a separate, and what was going on during the freedom movement regarding like civil disobedience movement or Swadeshi movement, what was going on in Assam. So we will study as a separate from chapter 3 and chapter 4. So today we will start with the chapter 3, that is Anti-British Uprising and Peasant Revolt in Assam. Chapter 3 has the single chapter, but it can be studied by dividing into three parts, that is the Anti-British Uprising in Assam, and then the freedom struggle of some leaders like Maniram Dewan in regards to revolt of 1857, and the third part, which has been defined as the peasants revolt in Assam. So first we need to learn about anti-British uprising in Assam. We know that after the Burmese invasion, which took the toll of about half of the population in Assam, and then it exploited a lot. The Assamese subject were suffering under the Burmese invasions, as we studied in class 9. It ruled for about 2 years, but later the British East India Company was compelled to interfere in the Burmese administration in Assam, and then the British, after expelling the Burmese, had an agreement which we call as Yandabu Treaty, famously known in history India as the Yandabu Treaty. It was signed in February 25th, 1826. The treaty was signed in Yandabu, the Burmese town, so it is called as Yandabu Treaty. After Yandabu Treaty, the British became the sole administrator of Assam. So by the 30s and 40s of the 19th century, the East India Company established itself as a powerful ruler in India. In Assam, they created a strong administrative base, and it was successful. The British administration was successful in suppressing any kind of revolt that was rising against the British and the local people. And it can be seen the revolt against the British fought against the British by Gomadhar Kuwar and Pioli Fikan through a system of administration in Assam. No, the British have started a new system of administration in Assam, as they took the administrative power over Assam and introduced a complete new revenue system, and which took control of the total economic system of Assam. In this revenue system, the foreign government gave more importance for collection of taxes, and they took not a single measures to control the sorrows, to erase the difficulties of the peasants and poverty ridden subjects. Subject means the Assamese people. In Assam, before the British came to Assam, before its administration, the system of revenue was not through cash. But as British came to Assam, the British introduced the collection of tax through cash, and the land revenue has to be paid by the peasants of Assam through cash, as well as other taxes by means of cash. So dear, as we further go through it, this cash system further impoverished the Assamese subject, the Assamese people, while the exploitation by the British increased day by day. Now, if you see the page in your history book, that is page number 39, there is a table given, and there are consecutive increase of revenue collection by the British from 1832-33 to 1852-53. During these times, there had been an increase about more than 3 times of revenue collections, and this new land revenue policy and the money economy of the British government created a deep resentment, not contentment. It is resentment among the Assamese common people. The Assamese people were angry against the British administration, this system of introduction of revenue collections. Now, in those times, cash were unavailable, and also as the peasants wanted to pay the revenue in cash, the Assamese subject didn't have the cash. So to cash the product, they have to sell their produce into the market, and in those times there was unavailability of proper market that they could sell their produce and get the money. So in that case, a new sections of creation was started, that is Mahajans. These Mahajans were invited from the outer part of the country, that is in India, from Indian subcontinent, and they created a new class of people like Mahajans. These Mahajans were Marwari immigrants, which we call as Kayas, and Bengali businessmen. The people of Assam were compelled to take loans by mortgaging their lands to these Mahajans and pay their revenue, and ultimately they are unable to pay back the loan amount including their interest. So ultimately the lands are going to these Bengali bureaucrats and Marwari Mahajans. Here, if the cash system would not been introduced by the British, at that time what happened before the cash was introduced? In those times, before the British, prior to the British administration, the villages in Assam were self-sufficient, and there were hardly any scope of earning money by selling the local produce, and also there were limited availability of market. They were engaged in some sort of barter system, which primitively they used to practice this kind of thing, like exchanging food grains in exchange of vegetables or livestock. And then in those times, which the British have introduced the cash system in Assam, it added the penury of the common people, and the fact that the land revenue struck the backbone of the Assam people. Okay, and this was written in an application by Anandaram Dhekual Fikam to Moffat Mills. So who was Moffat Mills? He was the Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court. In 1853 the letter was written, and the poverty stricken people, the matters about the poverty stricken people was written was mentioned in this letter. Anandaram Dhekial also written in his letter that in some areas like Kamrup and Darang, the condition of the Indian Assamese peasants were so bad that they were compelled to sell their family valuables. So what is the family valuables? That means their children. The parents were compelled to sell their children for handful of grains. Okay, why this is happening? You see, the governments today are taking revenues from us, and that revenue is utilized by the government for us only. They are giving back by various kinds of reform programs like construction of roads, hospitals, medical facilities, schoolings, education, whatever, many things. But in those times, British were taking the revenues, but instead the British were not spending a little amount also in development of the agriculture. And when the agriculture deteriorated, the subjects were suffering. The Assamese people were suffering in Assam. So for handful of grain, it is obvious that for handful of grains, the parents were compelled to sell their valuables, that is their children, family valuables. And also at the same time, in those time, in 1839, 1847 and 1852, consecutively in these 3 years, the state of Assam was stricken by cholera and measles. Okay, these two things are epidemic, and it took an epidemic form. Such epidemic led to the annihilations of several villages in Assam. As we are concerned about this coronavirus in India also, it takes about first it was taking the phase of epidemic, but it is not epidemic now, it is pandemic, it is worldwide. Same thing in those times in Assam. It is because of the discrepancy of the administration of the British, the Assamese people were suffering. So in this way, the peasants were also suffering under the hand of the British administration, and the British were earning huge profit in collecting revenues, in imposing various kinds of taxes. This was the conditions of the lower class of the people, that is the peasants groups. Okay, and again, tea gardens in Upper Assam were established by the British, and to encourage the tea gardens, land revenue of that land within the tea garden were exempted. That those people who were engaged in planting tea, they were exempted of paying taxes, revenue taxes of that land. As a result, the loss of the burden of revenue were fell upon the poor people, poor peasants. In this way, the peasants were suffering from all the sides. This is not only apart from the money economy introduced by the British revenue policy, certain other factors also contributed the condition, the very bad condition of the Assamese subject. For example, I have already mentioned about the peasants in Assam, the lower class of people. The middle class people were also in difficult form. That is, the British administration were also responsible for the deterioration of the cottage industries. From the time of the Ahom dynasty, some kind of silk production like Pat, Muga, Eri, these had special demand under the patronage of the rulers, and also in the Indian market or the British administration. And also the British administration imported this foreign clothes material, which had a very negative impact on the people. The British started to import their own machine-made goods, and these machine-made goods were flooded in the market of India, which have a deep impact on the people associated with the industry. So in this one, the people, worker groups, the middle class people were also suffering in this matter. So the lower section of the people, that is a peasant group, the middle class people also were suffering under this administrative system, which lead to the suffering, which lead to the struggle against the British government in those times. There were some other instances about the struggle of the British. That is aristocratic class of the people were also not not exempted from the policies of the British. The aristocratic class, the religious group also were suffering. In the next videos I will discuss about how this aristocratic class and the higher class of people were also suffering under British administration. So for the time I remain for this topics. So do share this video with the other students, classmates of your own class, of your class 10. It will be helpful for me, and it is difficult for me to share this video to each and every students. So there are about more than 40 students in class 10. So help me to share this, and I also expect that you will listen to this discussion, and God bless you all. Thank you.